and that's crazy. I keep saying that I think that January felt like it was a year long itself, and then February flew by in 2 seconds. So happy to see you all here in March, and let's see what this month brings. But I also wanted to just take the time to also say Happy Women's History Month. It's a really exciting time. We all know someone, whether that be our mothers, a sister, a niece, an aunt, just a friend that is a woman in our life that has touched us and really made an impact on us. And so I think that, we should definitely take the time this month to celebrate them, rise them up, and show our students even what that looks like and what kind of future they can aspire to have, being one of those successful women in our lives. So anywho, without further ado, I'll turn it over to Dr. English for his remarks.
Hi, everyone. As we approach the spring budget season, I want to begin by just commending our staff for a great first half of the school year. Halfway point was a couple weeks ago. So that includes our teachers for their day-to-day efforts with students and the connections they make with our families and community, our administrators, many of which are here, for their long and arduous hours that they put in, including those well into the night, our counselors and mental health staff for their diligence in supporting students with family needs, our support staff for their dedication and hard work in assisting both staff and students every day, our tech department for their work behind the scenes to ensure that our teachers and students' days are enhanced through tech support, our health staff for keeping our students healthy, our custodial and food service staff to ensure that our students are safe, properly fed, clean, as well as our safety and security staff who ensure that our children remain safe and secure throughout the day. Secondly, given the last few weeks, I felt it was a good time to play my part. I have a lot of roles as superintendent, a lot of hats. Tonight, I'm going to put my hat on as the district cheerleader for a moment and provide some important grounding in terms of experience we provide to Riverview students. Let's start with student achievement. Riverview ranks as the second single-A school in Western PA, fourth single-A school in the state, and sixth in the state compared to all AA districts. We rank 26th among all Western Pennsylvania districts, outperforming much larger and more resource districts in our region and across our Commonwealth. Our growth scores continue to improve as we annually steepen the curve for our students' learning trajectories as they relate to iReady and PVOS growth, receiving statewide awards for such growth. We maintain some of the highest AP and SAT scores in our region, competing with top schools across the state. For instance, in the last 5 years, Riverview has almost doubled the number of AP exams administered. Student performance has grown from 69% of students achieving a 3 or better to over 88%, earning a Bronze Honor Roll Award for overall performance through College Board. We also this year received a coveted AP Access Award, which we're very proud of, which highlights schools that successfully encourage low-income and underrepresented minority students to participate in AP coursework, outpacing our competition. For many years, until the state discontinued this report, we ranked in the top 5 overachieving schools, meaning that we outperformed expected student achievement growth relative to what our socioeconomic status would typically predict. On the SAT, our students have far outpaced Pennsylvania, U.S., and global testers, maintaining an annual average of 1198 across all Riverview test takers. This is a testament to our strong, high-performing system all the way down to kindergarten and the important work we do in our elementary schools. We maintain high-achieving extracurricular and athletic opportunities and provide a world-class educational experience. In terms of district finances, we have maintained clean audits and over the last 5 years have ensured that our revenues appropriately match our expenditures. We have successfully built up our capital reserves, which our independent auditor deems appropriate, proactive, and financially healthy. We continue to maintain a gifted, experienced, and veteran staff. Our teachers have over 1,145 years of combined experience, including 550 years of higher education and training. We maintain a highly trained veteran and high-performing administrative staff as well, not including our 8th incoming administrator. Half hold doctorate degrees, and our administrative team maintains over 61 years of combined higher education, 118 years of combined administrative experience, and over 182 years of overall combined experience in education. In a similar vein, over the last 5 years of collecting community data, 94% of parents report being highly satisfied with the school district, 93% of families report being proud of the school district, 96% report that their teachers are knowledgeable, 90% report that their child has positive social and emotional experiences at school and is appropriately supported, and almost 90% report satisfaction with the level of communication they received from the staff and the district. Approval ratings consistently score over the 90th percentile, and that is extremely rare and certainly an indicator that our community is pleased with the experience we work so hard to provide. Data from our last special education audit and parent survey boasts a 100% graduation rate for our special education students. 100% of our special education parents believe that Riverview openly supports inclusion of students with disabilities, and 100% report agreement or strong agreement that they are respected members of the IEP team. In my 26 years of experience in education, my career has taken me to multiple states, rural, urban, suburban settings, serving in elementary, middle, and high school roles and responsibilities. And I can say without reservation that Riverview represents the very best of academic, social, and emotional, and college and career opportunities for students, and our product are the extraordinary students that go on to compete and find success in the U.S. and global economies. The point is this: although we are always looking to tailor and adjust and improve, by any objective measure, we are unequivocally excellent, performing at a very high level and continuing to steepen our already positive trajectory. There's so much that we can be proud of here, and I can say without reservation that our students are in experienced, adroit, and caring hands. We hope that the board and community will continue to trust in our abilities to provide the very best of school experiences and continue to commandeer the district to new heights. A lot of positive things. Happy March, everyone. Sorry, that was long. But it's good, but it's good. It's long, but it's good.
A lot of that success is due to your leadership, so thank you.
No. That's everybody.
I know, but
I appreciate it.
it is.
That's,
a lot of it is due to
thank
you, so
you.
thank you.
That's the whole team. But thank you. I appreciate that. It's kind.
Thank you, Dr. English. Moving into our second piece of business for this evening is our presentations. Our first public portion is from Mr. Andre Carter, who will be providing us our winter wrap-up. And a wrap, apparently.
Okay, cool. So, winter season wrap up. Winter season was great. All the teams, whether you guys will get to see the records and everything, so I won't go through the records, the team win-loss records, but I will say that all of our teams are increasing in numbers. The kids are playing. Everybody's having a lot of fun. It's extremely nice to watch as the AD. How everything is progressing. But I do want to point out a couple of things as far as some of the accomplishments. Our boys and girls basketball team, a couple of players, Rex Roberts and Isabel Chaparro, both made the AK Valley Athlete of the Week. So there's definitely, some people are looking at them and everything like that. A couple of accomplishments outside of that is, I'll stay on Izzy since I'm here with her. She won, she was recognized as the KDKA Radio Super 7 Weekly Match Player. She was selected to the Cager Classic basketball program that's going to be taking place in at Highlands on March, I believe it's 28th, 26th, 7th, and 8th, I think it is. So if you guys have an opportunity to come out, she did get injured, but she's still going to win the three-point shootout on a boot, in a boot. So I think that's something that you guys should probably come out and witness because she definitely has what it takes to do that. As far as wrestling goes, like I said, wrestling numbers have been up there. We have Alex Wiley. He won a championship in both the Eastern Area Invitational and the Penn Hills Holiday Tournament. And he came third in the All-County. And then Cody Mizak, I don't know if it's Mizak, I don't know. Anyway, he came eighth in the All-County, and he placed fourth in the section, and he advanced to the WPIAL qualifier. For Unified Bocce, we made the playoffs this year. Our second team made the playoffs in Bocce. Did see, a lot of people this year were able to help out. In the last minute, we had to make some changes as far as the schedule goes and everything like that. A lot of the teachers stepped up and became judges, and so that we can have the bocce matches. So that was definitely good to see the participation. Kim actually learned how to be a judge, so she did very good, or very well, I guess it would be. Bowling, even though it's a club sport, our girls team went to the championships, and it looks like Aiden went to regionals. Fichte went to regionals. So there's a lot of things that have happened in this winter that have definitely been great as far as accomplishments go, and I'm super proud of them, super proud of the coaches. I do want to give a couple shout outs personally from the basketball standpoint. I want to give a shout out to Jen, and special thanks to Jen and Paula and Turk as well. Jen and Paula helped me out throughout the whole year, stats and everything like that. And the way Turk promotes everything on the website, everybody was able to get to see what was going on, because our website is still terrible, but his promotions and everything like that made up for all of that. So I definitely want to give, it's definitely a work in progress. Oh no, our district website is lovely. It's the athletic one. The athletic one is it's a work in progress, to say the least. So, but I have been talking to him. I talk to him probably once a week, and there's just no answers. No, and nobody knows what's going on with that website. Spring season started today. So first day of official practices was today. So everything ran pretty smoothly today. Track has over 120 participants. 120 participants. Yeah. Yes. Yep. So boys and girls combined, but 120 participants in track. Volleyball numbers, girls basketball, it's junior high. Volleyball junior high has about 30 players, so that's high too. And then our boys varsity and junior high baseball have good numbers. So it's not anything excessive on that part, but everything is started off smoothly and everything is going great. I think that's pretty much it, minus the wrap. I'll have that next time. Any questions? Everybody good?
When does the all section stuff come out for winter sports?
So we did have to submit that. We submitted that before the playoffs started. So I'm not exactly sure the date that it's going to come out, but it has been a couple weeks since we submitted the information. So hopefully that'll come out, and I'll definitely send an update on how that goes, or on who they select. Okay? Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Carter. Our second piece is our student life update from our administrators. So whomever would like to start may feel free.
You leave the button on? I did. All right, thank you for that. All right, as Mr. Paris pointed out, February was a quick, very cold, icy month, so we don't have a ton of updates here today. The art club, hopefully you saw on your way in, finished their Andy Warhol inspired projects with teacher volunteers. So if you didn't get a chance to check those out on your way in, please check them out on your way out and see if you can tell who they are up there. Bible Club, still meeting every Friday during the school year, 7:25 in the library. Cultures Club did their Flower Power cooking studio tour with their Iron Chef battle. They learned to make one Latin and one French item. French Club is wrapping up a fundraiser to help pay for their field trip buses. Gifted programs, we had 5 high school students participate in the first annual PA State Minecraft Finals on February 6th. They had a great time. We had 12 students go to the PA State mock trial. 4 were recognized with awards there, and 12 students participated in the Pittsburgh Public Theater Shakespeare monologue on February 5th. Also had a great time there. History Day is right around the corner, March 21st and 22nd at the Heinz History Center. We always have a tremendous showing there, and our kids do great. Model UN attended the Spring Invitational in East Lansing on February 19th to the 21st. We left there with 1 award. The team has 2 more competitions, Rome, here coming up soon, and then Westminster in April. The inclusive leaders, as Andre pointed out, our bocce team number 2 made it to the playoffs at North Allegheny last Friday. A few of us were there. It was a great time. And looking ahead, their next major activity will take place this week, where the inclusive leaders will partner with Plum School District, and they're going tubing up to Seven Springs. The experience will include approximately 40 students with disabilities and their peer buddies, supported in part through funding from the APR grant, which is good news. In addition, they are actively planning Inclusion Week at the high school, scheduled for April 13th through 17th. Some of the activities will be the annual Inclusion Festival and Sprinkle Run, Disability Spotlight Initiative, and a hands-on school-wide project during lunch periods designed to promote awareness, inclusion, and understanding of disabilities among the student body. Junior class is finalizing prom plans, discussing their thoughts on what the promenade is going to look like. Junior High Student Council supported the PTO with ticket sales for the Winter Wonderland Junior High Dance, which was a huge success. Over 100 tickets sold, and kids had a great time. Dr. Kirk, Sylvia, wonderful. Thank you, guys. The Key Club was awarded a $1,000 award. They plan to use this award to create shirts for the Mess Fest and to support a potential awareness campaign during Inclusion Week. National Honor Society are working on getting their 10 volunteer hours needed to maintain their active NHS membership. Those are due in early May. PJAS presented at the regional competition on February 7th at Baldwin High School. 16 of the 22 students qualified to go on to the state competition in May. So we're sending a big group out to Penn State in May. And the Yearbook Club is currently taking candid shots today. They were going around to classrooms. Senior quotes were due today, and pages in the yearbook itself are being refined as well. And of course, it is musical season. The musical's in a couple weeks here, so ticket sales, I believe, are already set up online, so make sure to get your tickets. Adams Family. Patrons Night? Oh, Patrons Night, Wednesday night. Yeah, don't worry about your tickets. Patrons Night.
Thank you. You're welcome.
Thank you.
Who is next?
I don't know about you, if your February was quick, mine was really long. So, I think it was that week of, are we home, are we here, are we home, are we here? It was a little rough. Werner, we had our open house and art show. It was a huge success, packed as always. That was February 12th. Student Council finished their Spread the Love food drive. Our Student Council is also took on creating a yearbook for Werner this year. So, big plug, $18, great deal. PTO did the Valentine's Day parties and activities for all the kids on the 13th. We participated, we had about 12 students participate at the science fair at 10th Street on the 26th. On Friday, we'll be traveling to 10th Street to see the Addams Family preview, so all our kids get a little sneak peek. We decided instead of them traveling, we'd go over so the kids can see all the props and see the whole thing. And the CLO will be coming to Werner on March 17th. And PTO is sponsoring their special persons dance March 28th, and the kids chose Glow Party, so we will be glowing in the junior senior high cafeteria. So even though it'll look like nobody's here, the place will be packed, I'm sure. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, I'm not going to repeat. We had a lot of repeats, which is great. I appreciate you doing that. February 6th, we had the Pittsburgh Zoo come. They brought their radical reptiles, so the kids were excited to see the gigantic tortoise that's older than everybody in the room. But that was great. They did a really nice job. Our student council did a wear a pair, share a pair pajama drive. So you could either bring a pair of pajamas or donate $1. So they got about 80 pairs of pajamas, and they raised about $500, which is fantastic. Our wellness committee, with Mr. Sochi, our food service director, started a program called Try It Tuesday. So every Tuesday they're trying to have the kids try a certain food. It was kiwi, I think, a week or so ago. I'm not sure what's up tomorrow, but at any rate, that's been great. It's going okay. It's going okay. Most kids were familiar with a lot of the things they've done, but some were not, so it's been great. Our wellness committee also did the 10th Street Olympics, which were held the 18th, 19th, and 20th, where they did some games, grade level. Each grade level had a designated time. On February 12th, our 5th grade did the 2nd annual Wax Museum, and kids represented either a president or a first lady. And they did a great job with that. They did it for the kids during the day, in the morning, and then the parents in the afternoon. As Dr. Monroe said, we had our Valentine's party on the 13th. Our 2nd grade went to the Byam Theater about a week and a half ago to see Annie. And that was sort of a last minute kind of a thing, but it turned out to be great. They all got dressed up, which was sort of nice to see. Boys combed their hair, which was fantastic. And but they really enjoyed it, and a lot of really good reviews about that. Turner's Dairy comes every year. They do a program called Cows in the Classroom, and they do it for our 1st grade, and they teach the kids all about agriculture and whatnot, and they do a really nice job. And she touched upon Science Fair. I can't thank my PTO enough. They started this a couple years ago. Mrs. Sullivan, she sort of led the charge on it, and it's great that we invite, folks from Verner. And we have a nice turnout with that. And we are looking forward to seeing the high school on Friday afternoon. So that's it.
Thank you for the 4 days of Annie rehearsed performances after that. Yeah, 4 days are.
You're really well versed in all the songs now?
All of them.
I could have prepped you. You should have called me.
We're big fans of it. It's fine.
Thank you. Is there any questions for our administrators, by the way? Thank you guys so much for your updates and stuff. I mean, truly, it's awesome to honestly see and hear how much the district is doing. We always say that we're like so small, but we just are so mighty, is truly it. We are just doing everything. And it's a testament to our teachers, to our parents, and most importantly, to our students. So, yeah, thank you guys. The third item on up for discussion in the presentation section is the REA letter that we mentioned at the end of our February 9th meeting last month. The board had some communications between ourselves, and we also really wanted to make sure that we took the time to kind of come back to this and discuss it a little bit further. Before I open it up for that discussion, one of the things that I want to touch on first is the piece of the retirement. The second portion of the letter discussed the retirement conversation with Mr. Hewitt and regarding one of the teachers. And I think, my rationale was to make sure that we were having a full picture, make sure that we were having conversations regarding hiring, budgeting concerns, etc. But specifically, I want to make sure that I mentioned one specific thing on this piece. And that's to say, one, sorry to Mr. Hewitt, because I don't want any teacher in this district or administrator, staff, what have you, to feel any type of way, especially disrespected, and especially for one of my former educators. That's not something that, I personally want, and so I just want to make sure that there's an unequivocal and, unreserved apology to you. No, seriously. But I do want to hear conversation around it, and I think we had actually a really good conversation in our executive session regarding retirements and things like that, regarding what that may look like down the road. And I think that those are the kinds of conversations as a board we need to be having and thinking about, especially as budgeting season comes about. And so, again, my approach was not appropriate for Mr. Hewitt, but I think that I'm glad that we had those conversations now. Please feel free to jump in on the retirement piece if anyone has anything to add there. But I think the second piece as well was the weather conversation. And I think a little more context is necessary for that. And so I just want to provide a little bit of a timeline for the board and for everyone at home, just so that you specifically hear what was more so happening. Like I mentioned previously, the first couple of days, I had been inundated with calls, emails, texts. I'm sure some of you saw posts on social media, things like that. And so those first couple of days, when Dr. English was checking in, I made sure that he was aware of them and he knew what was going on. And that we kind of left it at that on Tuesday. By Wednesday, Dr. English and I had received a text message from a community member that was not so much appropriate, especially considering that it was after hours, and just to be, texting our superintendent, it was just a lot. And so, especially after all that had already transpired that week. But for context as well, myself and Aaron were put into a group chat with Dr. English and asked to support the administration's decisions, as well as, not texting Dr. English on his personal phone. And I made it very clear, which, Dr. English can attest to, that I did follow up with that individual to say that that wasn't, appropriate, and that we would prefer any conversations like this or at issue in the future to go through email. So that was one thing. However, I did express to just Dr. English and Aaron my opinion, which was that I was really concerned for the safety of our students. I get that kids are going to school in Alaska, Wisconsin, other states that are really frigid, but in Pennsylvania, that's not our normal. It's not what we're typically accustomed to. So on our hills that have brick roads, that just sometimes is just not realistic and or feasible because our infrastructure is not the same. And so those were major concerns that I had expressed in those text messages. I will pass those all around so that at least the board members have them and can review them as well, because I stated from day one that I want to be transparent. I'm not going to sugarcoat things, but I'm also not going to make myself look any better or worse than I do. I am who I am. But needless to say, during those conversations, the reality was, I had expressed my opinion, but only to say that I was super concerned and I was debating on whether or not to call forth an emergency board meeting or a special board meeting to discuss the concerns that I was having and I was hearing from the community. I then also offered up the idea, because these two are the people that I'm collaborating with most on the board when it comes to a lot of the behind the scenes leadership decisions. And so I asked, would you two be willing to have a call? We did have a call that evening. They were both more than receptive to having a call before making any type of serious decision, whether or not to call a special meeting or the like. And during that call, we talked about different options, different scenarios, what we could do, things like that. And one of the suggestions that was offered, not by myself, was to do asynchronous. And I know that Dr. English then expressed that that was somewhat of an concern for him with the union, as they really detested asynchronicity during COVID, and especially it was worrisome of like the short notice of time and things like that. And so we had that call for a good hour, which then led to the portion of later on in that same evening. Wednesday was a long evening for us. We then, Dr. English emailed myself and Aaron and laid out, the couple options that he had based off of his conversation with Mr. Lindemann in regards to the union, because he reached out to him to see if that would be an issue that did arise. And it was. And so, Dr. English made us known about that, but then said, we could move forward with the asynchronicity. And the idea of that was so that the students who, if parents felt that it was too extreme of cold temperatures to send their kids, that they could keep them home, but that they weren't missing another day of instruction time, because we had already been on a delayed schedule the entire week. So then missing a day of instruction time, even if it is also on a delayed schedule, could set them back even more. And so that was the idea behind the asynchronicity. But like I said, Dr. English informed us that the union, definitely would push back on it, but at a later time, and that it was a possibility to make work. Myself and Dr. English and Aaron texted and emailed back and forth from, about midnight to over well past 1 a.m. That evening to discuss this, which ultimately resulted in, us not changing the plan because it had gotten too late. But all of it to say, I do want to make it clear to the board and to the community that those discussions were not some like hidden backdoor discussions wherein we weren't trying to loop in everyone. Those were more so to give my two peers the opportunity to kind of weigh in before it then became a whole conglomerate of us having all 9 of our opinions shouted out at Dr. English in whatever form that looked like. And that conversation, I think, was a good conversation, to be honest, to also have for purposes of relationship building and or seeing how we work in crisis moments or in crunch times. But yeah, I think more or less I want to open it up to questions, comments from you all, because like I said, I want to be as transparent as possible, and I don't want anyone on this board or our community members to think that I'm running it as my show, because that's absolutely not my intention. And in reality, it's just not what happened in this situation. And last time I didn't really have a good explanation of it, and sort of fell on the sword in totality because it was 11 o'clock, and at that point I was done. So anyway, without further ado, please, you can all open it up. I'm gonna send these to the board members so that they can review them, and then yeah, please open it up for questions, discussion, whatever. Maybe pass those down to them.
I guess I'll start because I think I was the one who brought this up at the last meeting to be discussed, because I feel like we should discuss it. Since we all received it and I wasn't sure, who all had thoughts on it and such. Essentially, my concern in receiving a letter like this, which we haven't received in about 4 or 5 years, I think, is just the notion that board members are kind of overstepping, their concern of board members overstepping our roles, whether it's regarding speaking to administrators, questioning administrators or teachers, or questioning decisions that have been made about weather or about anything else, right? So I still stand by the fact that our board is a governing body, and we're overseeing and assisting and jumping in with our thoughts and our questions and all of that stuff on lots of different of things, but we shouldn't be the ones like in the weeds of the day-to-day. We should, be collecting the information and then giving our thoughts, or how things maybe should proceed, or asking the right questions as needed. But I don't want us to be seen, or any one person or two people, whatever it may be, acting independently, and then it's sort of seen as like, well, the whole board is doing this, when that may not really be the case. Because we're seen as a group, not as individuals. So I think it's important that we're all aware, even if it's only leadership, obviously discussing things with administrators, of any questions or concerns. But also, to just make sure that we're kind of staying in our lane as well, and trust our leaders and administrators and teachers and such that we've employed, and have done a very good job in our district over the years. So I see this letter coming from the REA as a point to pause and to just question, like, well, why is there this concern? What could we be doing better? Because this isn't something we receive often. Or why is there a concern when there normally isn't? So I think it needed to be discussed. And obviously we responded, relatively quickly, but also wanted a chance to discuss in the public any other thoughts or ideas, and how we can, do better going forward.
I mean, I wasn't, I guess, technically on the board when this all occurred, so I was sort of on the sidelines, but, I'll be super brief here and maybe echo a little bit what Jen said. I think good boards empower, in this case, good administration. And so I do think it's a component around our roles, how much empowerment we want to provide the administration, and sort of being super clear on that. So I think that's number one. I think number two is around the board being unified. I think especially in, when I say unified, I mean that they sort of understand it. I appreciate the transparency component a lot, and this is super helpful. Unified and understanding all of the situations, and then being available to be able to offer any guidance that needs to happen. And potentially in those cases, it could eliminate spin if it's just with a couple of the board members. And with administration, you could bring in the entire board, and it could be sort of quickly resolved if it's done in an organized fashion. So I think empowerment, unity, I think I talked about that when I wanted to rejoin the board. You'll hear that from me forever. So hopefully we all agree on that, and it'll be interesting to get everybody else's perspective, but that's how I think about it.
Anyone else?
I think that I think the word you used, Antonio, was inundated. You were inundated with messages from all kinds of ways on Wednesday. I think if any of us are inundated with messages from people in the community, we just need to direct them to Dr. English. That's our role, is to direct them to Dr. English, or gather up the quick information and maybe just email them and say, hey, I heard from 15 people, these are their concerns, and then leave it. I'm not going to try and convince him to change whatever decision it is. He's the certified one, he's the expert, he's the person this school district hired to make these decisions, and I fully trust him to do so.
Well, since I was brought into this conversation and not aware that things were to be shared, which, whatever. It was a very long night. My life was texted during my son's orchestra concert. When was I available to talk? Went home, settled myself, spent a few hours talking about this. Tried to get to a point of how do we end this? It needs to stop. We just need to move on. Didn't seem to be a lot of options. Threw some options out just as options because that's what I thought maybe we were looking for. And I tried to speak as much as I could, but sometimes I don't get that opportunity. So I felt like a lot of my time was used that night for something that really now, as I look back, and even probably the next day, said, why were we even on this phone call? Didn't need to be made, didn't need to happen. Just let people move on with what they're supposed to do. So if anyone has any questions for me of what was discussed that night or anything that happened, I would be glad to answer those. I really am a bit taken aback about how this was handled this evening. So. Oh, and just one other thing, this discussion of collaboration rarely happens. It's only when something difficult has to be discussed and I have to be involved. But every other time, I'm not really involved in a lot of leadership decisions or responses.
I guess I wanted to chime in a little bit here. And I wanted to let our teachers and administrators know that we're here as a support role, right? And we really respect everything that you do. We know that it takes a lot of hard work, dedication. Maybe you lost sleep too, and we respect your decision making, and expertise as well. In terms of the weather situation, I initially looked at it like it wasn't necessarily something for the board to decide, but when my opinion was needed, I researched what were all the surrounding districts doing, and I did notice due to the weather, I think almost every other district was closed except for I think a private school, and I think it was Redeemer. But outside of that, our school district is different in terms of our size and walkability. And so I don't know, looking back, I would say maybe this decision perhaps didn't need to be brought to the school board in the first place. But I do want our admin and teachers to know that we respect you guys and we support you guys, and that we'll do our best to help uplift our school and make the best decisions that we can collectively. So thank you.
I just want to, so is this just an exchange between Dr. English and Aaron?
And myself.
Oh, got it. Thanks. I didn't see it on there. Thank you.
I don't want to speak again if someone else has something, Mike or Chris or anybody, but just one other thing. I think I said at the end of last meeting, but it was 11:15, so I don't remember if I did. But my main concern in receiving, a letter from the teachers union is always that we're trying to keep good people, our teachers, our administrators. We're not trying to make things harder. We're not trying to make their job harder, questioning things or keeping them, up hours or micromanaging or, like questioning things and, just trying to make, we're to be here to try to guide and help and support and, all of that, but not necessarily to make things more difficult. And I think some of these situations were causing that, and we have really good people in our district, so I don't want to make them crazy to the where they're like, this board is making me nuts, I can't work here anymore. And so that's the biggest concern is that I would have is just we need to, I think, be mindful and kind of rein ourselves in on certain things where we don't need to get involved.
I just wanted to add, I don't know that I have a very articulate way to address all of what's going on here, but I do think that it's an important point to raise as part of my job is advocating for people. And so, but I also see that our role as board members is also to advocate for people. And just because someone doesn't want to communicate with administration doesn't mean that we shouldn't relay concerns and other things that we're hearing that maybe they're not comfortable, don't want to, or for whatever reason don't want to share. And I do think that it's still very important for us to get that information to who should have it, because that is important when any decision is being made, regardless whether it be weather or something else. I see part of my role as facilitating information that I do have or that I do understand or I am given and get it to the person that should have it. So.
Yeah, it was a tough week, right? And I think I received a lot of feedback that people were frustrated about the weather, but it is what it is, and I trust the administration to make the right decisions on that. And I'm lucky that I have flexibility, but I know that not everyone does, and it's a hardship on some people to have to do virtual days, but we have to do what's best for the district and for the safety of the kids. So I think Dr. English did a great job, and I think we continue to support him and the rest of the administration.
Yeah, I'd just like to add that I really appreciated getting a heads up. I felt like the whole school district and all the families of Riverview really had a pretty good idea of what to expect most days. Like we get in advanced communications. I know as a teacher myself, sometimes I don't get called off until 7:30 a.m. and it's like, wait, I don't have to go to work now. That really throws a last minute wrench in everybody's plans. And I actually think you do a really great job of letting everybody know well in advance, when possible, what our intentions are. So, and I think as far as a board member, I would never really expect for us to have any impact or say in whether a school day gets canceled or delayed. Pittsburgh Public Schools doesn't do it that way. There's particular people that all meet and, you always reference the fact that you get information from Oakmont Police and the bus companies, and you take all that information and put it together to come up with a decision. And I entrust you and with 100% to make the right call. And even if you don't make the right call, I think you always had the right intentions. So, I can't think of any time that you haven't made the right call, but even if you did make a mistake, I think we all need to give you the grace that sometimes it wasn't the right decision, but not that I'm saying that you did, but you see what I'm saying. All right. Thank you. That is all.
You too. Yeah, and I think the reality of the situation that I wanted to just make sure that we all understood was, that it was more so a relaying of information until we were asked, and then I did give my opinion. And I won't be shy about that. I will continue to give my opinion, and I hope that we all give our opinions. Even though, like I've said to even tonight to Mr. Hewitt, there's a way to give our opinion, and maybe I sometimes can be a little abrasive, and so, I can definitely apologize in those instances. But I want to make it clear that that was a time where I was giving opinion, and yeah. Any other discussion?
I think discussion is how do we respond to the letter now? We have to give a response. We can't just leave it as, we'll get back to you, which is what it was left as.
I think part of our response should be that in the future, we're just going to entrust, district leadership to make that call. That's my personal piece.
Yeah, I definitely agree that I think we need to just reinforce that we understand our role, regardless of whether it's weather or curriculum or I don't know, whatever the topic of discussion could be, that we understand what our role is and that we're not, trying to intervene, but we're trying to just ask questions or pass on information and make sure that everything's understood, but that we're not here just to question or, overstep. That's not the point. So that would be my response, and to say that we're going to work on making sure that we're not doing so.
Yeah, I agree. I think it provided a good opportunity for a huddle up, right? And to have this type of discussion. And I think them understanding that we've taken the time to have this discussion is good. And ultimately, with what we've sort of aligned on, to write that back, I think is meaningful. And then we can move on to bigger and better things in terms of topics. And then they feel that they're in good hands with this board.
Agreed.
Yeah. And that, like, Dr. English reaching out to inquire with the union is actually like a good practice. That's what I wish my former superintendent would do when I was the president of my union. So that's actually demonstrates that we have a healthy process. So kudos to that decision making, however that happened.
Can I ask a question?
Absolutely.
Just want to make sure that I understand who's going to draft that response. I think that initial response was done by us and then ran past you, Antonio, and then was sent out. Is that how we're going to do this second response?
The first response was done by you and then it was disseminated to the entire board. Once that occurred, then it was sent out.
Okay.
So if that's a similar fashion that we want to go into again, I think it makes the most sense.
See a lot of nodding heads.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. We can do that.
So
We'll collaborate on that response.
We are going to do
For
that.
what it's worth, the last time this occurred, I was president and I drafted that response.
And I'm happy to. I just didn't know there was a legal component.
I think I drafted
this.
it and I shared it with everyone to say, this is what I've written, is everybody good with this? I think I probably ran it by Falco and Dr. English too, just to say, this is fine, kind of, this is what we've come up with. And then that was what was sent along.
I'm down to clown.
Either way, however you want to do that.
That's
And
fine.
it's really, because it's to the board, the answer should be coming back from the board.
Yeah.
It's not Falco or Neil, the letter was sent to the board, not them, so.
I got you. So I'll draft it up, send it to you both, and then we'll send it to the board.
Okay.
Perfect. Thank you all.
Sounds good.
Okay. Thank you for the discussion, everyone, by the way. So we will move into our first hearing of the citizens. Remember, this is a time for our community members to come up to the microphone, state your name and your address, and give remarks based off of agenda items only. Please keep in mind that the board does not typically respond to your comments, but usually takes them into consideration for future governance, and that you are also recorded, and that all, yeah, nope, that's it. Thanks. Anyone would like to come up, please feel free to do so.
Wendy Wilton, 682 4th Street in Oakmont. I appreciate accountability, I appreciate apologies, and I appreciate the discussion, but I'm still going to read the statement I wrote earlier. So, I left last month's meeting before the committee report, so I missed the reading of the letter sent by the REA and the discussions that followed regarding the culture and the role of the board. Hearing that letter really bothered me as someone who spent 4 years on the board, on different committees, in my last year sitting in the president's seat, but also just as a community member who cares deeply about Riverview. When I was on the board, people often made statements to me about how hard the job must be and the time commitment it entails. I will say at times, it is not an easy job, but it doesn't have to be so hard. You especially don't have to make it harder. I heard a quote the other day somewhere, and I can't credit the source, but it was something to the effect of, hire good people and then get out of their way. In the 4 meetings since the turnover of the board, I have heard the elementary principals be accused without evidence in public of not applying curriculum equally across schools, the high school principal being called out in public for making a request to the board, the superintendent being sidelined from leading meetings and conversations, and board members being left out of some communications and decisions. And now the REA, representing the teachers, is speaking out about the overreach of the board. I ask you all to consider how you would feel if you, as a professional in your field, had someone from a board of directors who is not in the trenches, who doesn't have the educational background or professional certifications and experience that you have, stepping in to micromanage your work. How would you feel about that job? We had 9 or 10 people from the community apply to be on this board who all expressed positive feelings towards the district, the teachers, and the administration. The district surveys, as Dr. English pointed out today, the district surveys at the end of the year show overall parents are pleased with the district, but what I've seen the past 2 months at these meetings, you would think that Riverview is falling apart. During the discussion regarding the REA letter at the last meeting, Mr. Paris made the statement that maybe the teachers were used to, quote, passive boards in the past. I'm not really sure what that was supposed to mean, but I don't take it as a positive comment. If what we have seen in the last 2 months is considered not passive, I would tell you it doesn't seem to be working. The energy coming from the board has not been positive. But again, it doesn't have to be so hard. Work together as a team, show respect for your employees and each other, let your employees do the jobs they are trained to do, but work together when problems arise. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Please keep in mind that there will be also a second hearing of the citizens at the end of the meeting for comments relating to anything concerning the district. Going once, going twice, sold. Alrighty. Let's move into the discussion and review of potential motions for approval for the voting meeting. The first being business and finance. That will be presented by our Director of Finance and Operations, Ms. Lubert.
Thank you, Mr. Paris. I have 2 motions for the board's consideration. One is the purchase of a new batting cage in the amount of $4,002.65 from Batting Cages, Inc., as presented. I did get 3 different quotes. Those are attached under the motion. For the second motion, it's the installation of the new batting cage. The company that I chose for batting cages, they would have to send someone from Washington State. It was not cost effective, so I've reached out to 5 different companies. Right now, I'm trying to negotiate with one of them. It's going to cost about $5,000. I just haven't determined which company we're going to go with because I've reached out to them to ask them to lower their price. So it's as soon as it's on, I'll send an email out. But I've reached out to several. Only 2 have responded back. The other 2, they only install what they sell. So those are my 2 motions for consideration.
So $4K for the equipment and about $5K for the install.
Correct.
Thanks.
And Sheila, I think we talked in prior meetings about the possibility of getting insurance for the damage on the batting cage. What was the result of that?
I am still working with that. Our broker is fighting with Utica right now on the coverage, because what happened is they covered the track mats. We had a deductible, which we paid, and then they covered the majority of the track mats. They're trying to cover this equipment underneath the same portion of the policy. However, this batting cage was actually in a concrete footer, not on our property.
Yes.
So that's kind of the caveat that we're fighting right now, where the broker is arguing that it should be covered just like the other, but the other they were materials not on our property that were damaged, but these are actually installed into concrete footers.
Okay.
So that's the differential that we're arguing right now. It might or might not be covered, but it does need replaced. I have talked to Mr. Fody. They are in the process of removing the footers, the current footers, and the equipment, the fencing that's there now that was damaged by the weather in April. And I did tell him that we were in the process of getting it replaced and installed, and that I would like for him to put it on his insurance policy, which he has agreed to do so. So.
You have
Yeah, go ahead.
No, please.
I was just curious, do we know if the insurance will pay for it, about how much we would get?
Well, we've already paid our deductible, so it would be under that same damage policy, so they would pay for all of it.
All of it? Okay.
Yeah, if they cover it. Again, the differential is it's actually in the ground, so it should be part of the park.
Yeah.
But we need batting cages for our kids. So, and the install, I'm hoping to have that once this is board approved. I'll get it ordered. I have a 7 to 10 day for the batting cage itself to get here, and then I just have to schedule the install.
You answered my question. Thanks.
You're welcome.
We want to get it baseball season.
Yeah, baseball season's coming.
Baseball season is here.
And if it would not be covered by the insurance, would we make it a capital expense?
This is a capital expense. I'm sorry. I will add that to the.
I figured, but I
motion.
just wanted to.
Yep,
put it
I
on the
will
record.
add that to the motion. Thank you, Ms. Siri. Any questions or concerns? Anything else? Thank you.
Okay. Our next item of business is B, agreements, contracts, and resolutions, which will be presented by our superintendent, Dr. English, and our director of finance and operations again, Ms. Lubert.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Paris. We have one item this month in agreements, contracts, and resolutions. As is typical, every year during March, we are asking for board approval of the proposed 26-27 Allegheny Intermediate Unit Program of Services budget in the amount of $2,431,488. The Allegheny County School District's total contribution is $2,042,623. The Riverview School District contribution to the program of studies budget is estimated to be $22,925, representing a slight increase from last year. The district's final withholding allocation will be based on the district aid ratio and weighted average daily membership, which will be determined by PDE sometime after July 1st. So, like I said, this is a typical cost. It goes up a little bit every year. Any questions on the program of services budget for the AIU? We will have to make sure that's separated out next week, Mr. Paris, for you, right?
Yes, sir.
Yes. So we'll make sure we do that. Any other questions there?
I would encourage the board members to look at the packet that was provided. It details what services Riverview uses from the AIU. This information can be found on the AIU's website, but it's specific to Riverview and stating, you know, what services we're using in terms of special education, all the gamut of anything that the AIU offers. And so it's nice to see, you know, what we're taking advantage of as a district, and then, you know, what else is provided. Any other questions, comments? Cool. Moving right along. Item C, board governance and regulations. This will be presented by myself. We have our board policy review, our first reading still for 005, the organization. We discussed talking about the changes and or descriptions to everyone's committee/delegations. I did want to also point out at this time too that Mr. Gahed is going to be our delegate for EAS moving forward. So thank you for doing that. But without further ado, does anyone have suggestions, amendments, or revisions to their description for their committee or delegation?
Not seeing the descriptions
Oh.
within the, or maybe I'm looking at the track changes of like the list of committees, but I thought last time there was the description. It's not
Yeah,
in
that
this
it's
copy?
not in that one. If you look back at the February 9th meeting, or let me see.
Be able to see it now. Okay.
Is it just replaced?
I just added both. There should be two there now. Okay.
So the updated version should have the descriptors.
Yes.
Yes, it does.
I guess the first question I had was in that, I guess the first set of track changes before the descriptions. Was that being edited just for clarity or because of like a policy change? The line that starts officers of the board serve. Usually, I guess previously it said serve at the pleasure of the board and may be removed from such office by the affirmative vote of a majority of the present voting. Then that other section that was added, that additional part, is there a reason that was getting added, or was that just to update?
That was the 1949 Act 14. That was the section of the legal code, and that was also what Falco talked about as with the case law as well. If you click,
That's why that was changed.
yeah, if you click number 25, it'll take you directly to the statutory provision that it relates to, and that's the basis for it.
How do you want to discuss, sorry, pushing this. How do we want to discuss the revisions to the descriptions?
Do we just want to go straight down them?
Just go one by one and just say what we want to revise or not?
That works. You're up first.
Since I'm first, then I would say the first line isn't totally accurate. And just for awareness, of the communications and marketing delegation oversees district communications with internal and external stakeholders, including families, staff, taxpayers, and the broader community. That's not like entirely true. It's not like the point of the delegation is not so much to, communicate with families directly. That's more like if Dr. English gets an email from a parent, he's going to reply to them or whatever, as opposed to them sending something to like the board email, which still isn't like our role for that delegation. It's more about just broad communications out, right? Or posting news or accolades or, activities, things that are going on. It's more about like publicizing those things. Or interacting with media where appropriate, if there's like some article being written or something like that, and we need to, partake in giving a quote or something like that from the district. So that line I feel like is like not quite right. And like the rest of it in terms of I can just read the rest of it. It says responsibilities typically include reviewing communication strategies, public messaging, branding, media relations, transparency practices, which I'm not sure I understand what that means, and community engagement efforts to ensure accurate, timely, consistent information is shared. Like that's bulk of what we do, in this delegation, right, is to just put out information, make sure all of our messaging is consistent, everything's branded correctly, we're communicating with the right entities, that kind of stuff. So that's mostly what it is. And obviously the following line of delegation supporting the board's responsibility to promote open communication and public trust while respecting confidentiality requirements. That's fine. I think the other piece that should probably be added if we were to like edit the first sentence and then like maybe add a last sentence to say something to the effect of the marketing aspect of it. I'd say like 85% of what we do is communications. The other 15% is probably just making sure the district is seen in a positive light, in our community, in our county, that kind of thing. So that's sort of the marketing, if you will. So maybe we add a line, that would just say something to that effect. In the past, as an example, we put in like an informational thing in the Oakmont and Verona newsletters, about the district, kind of just saying, here's, kind of what we're about and that type of thing. So that to me, it aligns with like marketing. So, sorry, that was kind of like long-winded, but I feel like it's mostly there with some edits.
So delete the first sentence and then.
You could still say oversee district communications. It's just not so much internal stakeholders like families, like that taxpayers, like that's not really it. So more about overseeing district communications and then picking up on like the responsibilities and, all of that. I think is okay. And then just adding a little at the end about like from the marketing aspect.
Okay. So oversees district communications and then I put a period to then go straight into the responsibilities piece. And then for the marketing aspect, I added continues to work with administration to ensure the district's community standpoint remains
upheld, positive. I'm not sure what the right wording is, but accurately portraying the district, or something to that effect. I don't know. Neil, feel free to jump in if you have something in the line of.
I mean, I'd say typically the meetings really just revolve around, Dr. Turk giving an update on how many, really disseminating
all the information.
Information,
Yeah.
Or any information we're hearing from the public where they might want changes or updates. Like, we've had discussions about the athletic webpage and about what that process is like and how we're trying to work with the companies to update it. So it's
So maybe that first line should be like oversee district communication channels, because that includes website, social media. Now we have a YouTube channel. Like it could be a print piece, the Riverview Reporter, the State of the District. Like all those kinds of like sort of marketing / communication, and materials.
Okay.
So does that help?
Yep. I updated that. Then the last sentence I just configured it to add on a little bit, but continues to work with the administration to ensure the district's community standpoint remains accurately and positively portrayed to the community at large.
Sorry, can you read the first part of that last sentence?
Um,
I think you said something works with.
continues to work with the administration to ensure the district's community standpoint remains accurately and positively portrayed to the community at large.
Thank you. Great.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, it's basically about upholding our reputation in a broader sense,
Okay.
I mean, look, I think there's a couple of the language in a couple of the committees would go. I think if you leverage some of the last part of that last sentence, or the first part of that last sentence, around just the connectivity with the administration across. I had it in the personnel committee, the education committee, the marketing and comms committee, the safety committee, and the student life committee, where it is this partnership and engaging with the administration. Any component or language that links that in there, I think, would be beneficial, especially based on just what we just talked about today. But I think the other areas, I'll make my life super easy, but I didn't have any language issues, so I thought they made a lot of sense.
I agree with
Education and curriculum.
So I would just suggest changing, like the first word is overseas, but I feel like it would be more of like support reviewing, and like assist instead of overseeing.
Or facilitate.
Or facilitate, yes. I just felt like oversee more so is like you're directing them to particular decisions versus like reviewing what they present, and then
That's fair.
providing an opinion on what you think might work best. So like support reviewing, providing insight. And I wasn't sure it was like reviewing graduation requirements, and was that part of the role previously? I just wanted to know about that.
So our role as a board is to develop graduation requirements.
Okay.
Those requirements are recommended by our administration, and then voted on by us.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that will be my primary suggestion, is to change the word oversee to like support reviewing and providing insight to instructional programming and the rest of that sentence.
So could it be supports the administration with the district's instructional program, curriculum development, assessment practices, and academic initiatives?
That's correct.
Is that okay with everyone else? Yep. Okay. Any other amendments to this one? Okay. Finance.
Just a couple of small edits in the second sentence. Responsibilities typically include preparing. Can we say typically include overseeing the preparation of the budget?
Yes.
With the director of finances and operations, superintendent, and then starting that next part, and reviewing and providing recommendations over long-range financial projections, audits, tax decisions. Because I'm not going to be making any tax decisions on my own.
Fair. Cool. Any other?
Nope, that's it.
Okay. Administration, please feel free to weigh in as we're going through these. Forbes Road.
I don't see any revisions.
Okay. Anyone else have any recommendations? Revisions? Okay. Legislative delegation and PSBA liaison.
I don't have anything.
Okay.
Looks good the way it is.
Personnel and negotiations committee. Everyone?
I'll just be unpopular opinion. I don't think this committee is necessary. It gets covered in other areas. And I think it gets into a sticky situation where we're potentially delving into collective bargaining issues.
I guess to that point, is the purpose of this committee to be stood up just during union negotiations, or would this be a standing committee?
Previously, the union negotiation stuff was wrapped into finance,
Right.
and we didn't have like a personnel committee per se.
That's what I'm wondering what the intention is. Would
Yeah.
it just be stood up for the purposes of negotiating the next teacher's contract, or?
And in that contract negotiation, there was a member of the finance committee and a member of board leadership that represented the
Right.
board on those. So there really wasn't a separate committee. Like last year when it was RESPA, it was Wendy and I, and Wendy was there as the finance rep and I was there as the leadership rep as the vice president, so.
Just kind of wondering what this committee would do when we're not negotiating a contract.
I did want to chime in, and I wasn't sure if it was related or not, but our education group was part of the discussion when we were interviewing for the vice principal position. So just wanted that to be part of the information.
Yeah, that's, I guess, where I'm a little confused on this committee too, because I understand it as like you said, if you're just using it for purposes of like negotiation time, you know, when we're having that, but personnel really can fall under a couple different areas. Like the two examples that just this last week, education was interviewing assistant principal roles, student life was interviewing head football coaches. So those are both personnel, but like to me, you wouldn't have the same people in, you know, all of those same interviews. So student life was part of athletics, education's part of a principal position. So I don't know. To me, it's like doesn't really make sense to have just a personnel category, because that could be anything from a football coach to a principal to a teacher. You know, it's like sort of broad. I don't know. I feel like we're all kind of helping on the personnel front generally.
Yeah. Though I think the idea behind it was realistically in all aspects of whether we're looking at it from a budgetary aspect of what types of positions do we have open, what needs to be filled, right? We have a lot of para positions that we're always trying to fill. What does that look like over time? How many para positions do we have open that have been open since joining this board? Me and you personally, you know what I mean? Or, and things like that, like what are our strong areas, what are our weak areas? So it was more so not to be something that like, and again, doesn't need to be something that meets a ton, but more so to look at that. What is our attrition over how many years? I mean, we know that it's really great for teachers. I can attest to that, but what does that look like for our staff members that don't fall under our collective bargaining agreement with teachers? What does that look like for our nurses, for, like I said, our paras, our custodial staff, our just any of our district staff, and also just giving that, I don't know, help for even possibly looking at diverse candidates or what kinds of things we can be doing to bring in additional teachers if we know that there's going to be, or we're thinking that there's a planning of an influx of retirements or positions opening. Having those discussions about what certifications look like for possible retirements, right? That was a big contention previously with the retirement, right? We just didn't know that that was going to necessitate 2 certifications versus 1. Stuff like that. So I mean, we don't have to have it. It was more of a proposal, but the idea is so that we're getting more information and then able to relay that back to our constituents and our community as a whole. Because we only hear about it when we make those hires and or a major position comes up. We don't really realistically talk about it in a fruitful way throughout the rest of the year in terms of a lot of these statistics.
I think we are able to ask a lot of those questions when they come up, though. I don't think that it's something that anyone's hiding behind anything, and we can just ask if, what are the scenarios on this? What's the situation? Where are we looking in these specific areas? It's just more asking broader questions when those come up, rather than say we put it on a committee. It could be something that I'm thinking, and then Bridget would say, oh, I was thinking about that too. Just, these are general board conversations we could be having that don't need to happen in, committees that then have to come back and report, and then, 8 other people have questions about it.
Yeah, I'm thinking like 3 different things here. So one, that below all of these, it says ad hoc committees can always be formed. I think that that's potentially a good option for negotiations. It also creates an environment where everyone understands and knows who from the board is facilitating those negotiations. 2, perhaps some of these things can be overlaid into other committees to make sure that we're all, because these are all important and relevant items to make sure that we're addressing. And 3, some of these kind of look like long-term strategic planning items to me, the way they're reading. And I guess then my question would be, where does that actually fall? Obviously, Dr. English is doing a lot of the heavy lifting in regard to that. But where does that fall in our other committees that already exist that we could overlay that?
And I think the points that Antonio brought up are good, and I think we should be intentional about those things, but I don't know that it fits in a committee.
I've also, and I don't know if you all noticed that, I'm here. I also listen very carefully to what you all say during meetings. So I heard that, you wanted to know more details in terms of how many candidates we started, what the process. So I think you've noticed I've added a ton more detail than we always have added in terms of interview processes, what we've done, how many people, so I'm listening as well. I'll continue to add more detail in those matters if the board is interested in knowing that.
I love the idea of consolidation, but I do think 10 committees is a lot. And I think that there are ways to bucket these committees into strategic or governance items that potentially capture a little more, right? I don't think anyone's saying that these items aren't important. I think that maybe the committees can be truncated, but still sort of powerful, if that makes any sense. And then you've got the teams even more focused on those areas, and then naturally whatever comes up outside of that ad hoc component, I think, is nice. Yeah, I think 10 on here, when you read it, you're like,
It starts to get to be too much,
Yeah.
because there's only 9 of us.
Yeah.
And traditionally, historically, whatever you want to say, one of us would be on a committee for something, and then one of us would be a delegate for something. If the delegate's a smaller role, then fine, you can do that, and you can serve on, student life, or whatever. So it's you can tag a couple things. Also, typically, these are things that whatever our backgrounds are in, right? That makes sense for us to help with. If somebody's in finance, and great, they can work, if that's their background, then they should be working on the finance committee. If their background's in marketing comms, then they should help with that. It sort of, it aligns, with people's skill sets, in addition to obviously just being a voice, or whatever. But it does start to get to be a lengthy list, and it just adds more meetings, more reports, more updates, more minutes, more, when I think some of the stuff's already happening, it's just it's this particular example is happening already in a few different places. Yeah. Whether it's strategic planning or hiring or negotiations, or, it's not that it's not important. It's just, it's kind of being covered in other ways at different points during the year.
I got you.
So, yeah, I don't know that this one's really needed.
So deletion of
my
this one.
opinion.
All in favor of that? Cool beans?
In favor.
Okay. Cool. Policy. this one is in line with PSBA's direction for how a policy committee would function. So that's how I drafted this one, but I'm open.
I guess my questions, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say, in merger, would you ever take policy and legislative delegation and turn it into one committee? You would not.
No.
Okay.
They're like
Legislative is-
two, yeah, it's like a completely different track.
Yeah.
Like I'm looking at federal, state, and local government
Yeah.
action, and they're looking at school board
Yeah.
governance, school board policy.
And I feel like it would be so overwhelming. Those meetings can be long when you look at the laundry list of policies that we're reviewing at a time.
Yeah.
Like just open up any of our sections. The 800 section alone has like, I think 40 different policies in it.
Yeah, and I don't have any meetings. I meet with myself and I read a bunch of stuff.
And for what it's worth, this is a new committee as of a year ago. Is that correct? Yeah. So we didn't previously have like a committee for policy, even though like I said, it wasn't like it wasn't happening. It was, we still had all of them out there, you know, and such. And it was still that the administration was still reviewing it and updating, you know, or whatever. But it wasn't like there were two people assigned to like making sure that we're staying on top of updates and going through each section and that kind of thing, you know. So it was just kind of formalized, I guess you could say, in the last year.
I guess my question is here is a big part of what we do as a committee is ensuring that we're working with administration and getting their perspective on that. And I'd like to have that be included because it's not just the board members doing these things. It's working with the administration and that other team on those things together. You know, the way it's done is that, you know, we each look at policies and we bring forth our revisions, they bring forth their revisions. We sit down and say, okay, let's make it work together. So I would want to make sure that that's kind of clear. If someone were to walk in and say, well, is this just two board members or two or three board members who sit down and do these things? No, it's working together with them to make sure that they're done.
So in the second sentence, I revised that based off of what I was hearing to, this committee ensures district policies align with the Pennsylvania School Code, state and federal law, and to the extent possible, PSBA policy guidance through thoughtful collaboration between the committee and administration.
Yes.
Cool.
Yep.
Perfect. Anyone else?
Not a comment on that, but I did just want to make sure everyone saw that, like at the top, before all of these committees are described, it does say that the superintendent is an ex officio member of all committees.
Yeah.
My only other comment is to kind of wordsmith that last sentence. I get the point of however the committee's role does not disturb an individual board member's ability to bring forth policy recommendations to the full board. I don't know how to wordsmith it. I've looked at it a couple times.
Same.
Does not prohibit instead of disturb an individual board member from bringing forth policy recommendations to the full board.
Okay. Is everyone okay with that? The reason, and also the reason that I'm asking if everyone's okay, because if it's like unanimous and no one's objecting to things, then they're seen as friendly amendments so that we keep things moving forward. Yeah. Okay. Cool beans. 8, Safety Committee. Leanne? Oh. No.
Took some medicine.
Yeah.
I can reach out
Okay.
and get her feedback and send it. Let me write that on my action steps for tomorrow. I'll get that and send it out to everyone.
as administration, is there, just looking at it, is there anything that you all would recommend changing or keeping?
We talked about the delineation between sort of two separate groups. The group that we meet with now is really about, and Sheila will tell you, it's really about workplace safety, and we have to do that in order to create decreases in our insurance premiums. So that's a part of it. That being said, the safety committee does meet from, with the public, from time to time. And so we talked about maybe having either a different group or having that same group have some responsibilities to do walkthroughs and other things to then report back out to the safety committee board member, have a meeting, and then have something to present in terms of not insurance claims, but the work, the buildings and the infrastructure and the safety of the infrastructure. So our safety consultant, Rich Mader, has been working on that. So we're not ready with the exact details of that, but we're looking to, I hear that people want to hear about the safety of the district in general, right? Yeah. The public wants to hear about that. The board wants to hear about that. But we're looking on separating what's currently happening, which is really not that, right, with people meeting on a more routine basis, which is that, and then reporting information back out to the board. So I would say we're not quite ready there. Maybe we put a pin in that for now. I'll talk to Leanne, and she can kind of go over some of the language that she wants to change. And we'll continue our work, and we'll make a recommendation to the board so that those kinds of things are being reported out for the community. Okay?
Okay.
I guess my question then would be, is like, does that work comp piece, does that seem to be encompassed in what is currently written? Because I'm not sure.
Yeah, we actually don't believe that should be a part of this committee.
Oh, you think it should be a different thing?
Yeah, I think it should be a different thing. Now, we can incorporate similar people, but not, yeah.
Okay.
We've talked.
I didn't know if there was like a piece of the insurance.
What we need to change for that.
I didn't know if there was a piece of the insurance component that like it needs to be in writing to prove or demonstrate.
So there do have to be meeting minutes for the workplace safety committee meetings, and so those are separate, and then you have your training that you do as a committee member that's required for our insurance purposes.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
But the board doesn't necessarily have to be a member of the workplace safety committee.
Correct.
In order for that committee to exist on its own and still get the insurance reduction. So
yeah, and we definitely need that.
As a matter of fact, the board until just recently wasn't a part of that, but I understand. I think.
Share the
pain. What the board wants for that. And we're going to try to put some things into place so that those kinds of things are happening. I also think we can squeeze a little bit more out of some of the stipends that we provide for the safety committee in terms of extra duties and responsibilities. They're walking through and looking at doorways and looking at signs and walking around with Rich Mader and our newly appointed director of facilities, academics, and facilities. Whatever your name is.
Whatever your name is.
Whatever your new name is. And then provide some steam behind that, I think.
Okay. Cool. Put a pin in that and then come back to that.
Yeah, I think so.
Student Life Committee, your last one.
I didn't have any issue with any of that. I don't know if it really changed because I'm new to it, but I don't have any particular objection to what's written there.
What do we mean by student services? I just wasn't sure what that, I agree, most of it sounds accurate, but I wasn't sure when we say student services.
So I was thinking more along the lines of like our student councils or like our dances, things like that aren't necessarily clubs and organizations somewhat put them on, but then if they're specific functions and stuff like that, that's more along the lines of like what I was thinking for student services.
Okay. More like student events?
Yeah.
Okay.
But like, for instance, like you just said Minecraft. You didn't just say that. Mr. Hewitt did. Sorry. Like Minecraft and stuff, like our gifted programming and stuff like that. Those would be more services because, right, like Model UN and stuff like that. It's now a club, but it didn't always used to be a club. PJS is not a club, but it has a club-like component, right? But it's realistically that the student is working individually with the science teachers that most closely aligns with their project to create it. So you're not working as a club, more so you're an individual that presents as an individual at local or at the regional and then the state level, and whether or not you succeed is on you as an individual student versus
Okay.
whole.
So basically a place to capture stuff that doesn't fit in a good box somewhere
Yes.
else.
Yes.
Okay. I just wasn't clear because
That
I was
makes
like
more
service, like in what do you like? What kind of service? Yeah, like I wasn't following. Okay.
There's also some new things there that we typically, the student life committee typically is meeting with the administration. They're delivering information in terms of what's happening. You report that back to the board. There are some new parts of this. I just want to make sure the board understands that. We haven't typically been disseminating like sort of wellness initiatives or attendance or discipline and school climate thing, and we're not really reviewing policies because the policies have now been taken over by the policy committee. So some of those items are sort of new or not currently what we're doing. Now we can certainly realign those meetings to those things, but those are some differences.
Yeah, I definitely don't think attendance, discipline, and school climate is. I mean, I'm newer to student life committee per se, but like I don't feel like that's ever really been part of this committee in the past. So if it's something that we're trying to add, then we probably need to like.
I mean, those things are provided to the. I mean, safety things are provided to the board. You know, at the end of the year, security. Those
No, I just
drills
meant
and
student life. Like
Yeah,
to me,
yeah,
that stuff isn't really part of the student life committee
Right,
per se.
right.
Like it's not that it's not happening, but it's just
Attendance.
that to me
more
doesn't
is
fall in like the
safety
student life
committee.
bucket.
Yeah, there's some just
like-
things that just, it's not that we're not providing those reports. They're just currently provided in different,
Other
Places.
in
yeah.
other places is all.
Like when we get our reports from the administrators from the buildings, they're not talking about discipline trends and attendance and like that's not part of the
Yeah,
reports.
it was more. I think what I was thinking was the handbooks. So like when it says policies, I didn't say district policies. I just said policies for like all of the revisions to like our student handbooks or our athletic handbooks, things like that. More so than you know what I mean, district policy.
Yeah, then maybe just strike that instead say just that. Say like student handbooks and or or something to that effect. If that's what you're trying to include, you could just say that instead of because a school climate to me that's not in that area.
And I'm just thinking like the volunteer handbook might fit in this category as well, which just got updated maybe.
That's
I
a
don't know.
good point.
Yeah, just
Yeah,
handbooks
can we just
generally.
do a handbook?
Yeah.
Advocating that we're in opposition to any of it. I'm just saying those are differences. So
Yeah.
we would just realign our reports towards
Yeah.
Yeah.
whatever you as a board decide is what you want to
Yeah.
hear.
Like those are not things that we typically report on.
That's not
Yeah.
what we have up to this point, but that doesn't mean.
And the wellness initiatives we do have for
Yeah.
King Street and Verner, right? They have like the yoga and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
So that
Yeah.
we definitely have reported on.
Yeah, that we have.
Dance, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're striking attendance and discipline trends.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, we might want to just change student services and be a little more, Antonio, you were explaining what you thought that meant, just so that student services isn't confused with special ed student services, which is typically what that would.
That's kind of what I was thinking. When I saw student services, I was thinking like special ed.
You
like,
had you just
yeah,
gave
it was
a couple.
confusing.
You just gave a description of that, of what you're looking
So
for.
like
Yeah.
extracurricular
Student
adjacent.
student non-instructional opportunities.
Yeah. Or
You can call them co-curriculars too.
co-curricular
co-curricular,
activities or something. Yeah.
Love to hear it.
It's less
That one
words.
was student co-curriculars. Okay, let me reread the whole thing for you all. Focuses on non-instructional aspects of the student experience, such as extracurricular activities, athletics, student co-curriculars, wellness initiatives, and school climate. The Student Life Committee reviews handbooks and programs that support student engagement, equity, and well-being, ensuring alignment with the district goals and legal requirements. Cool beans. I will send that to Rainey, and then, yeah. Perfect. Any other pieces for board governance and regulations? Thank you all for your patience as we talk through that. Okay. Item D, personnel, which will be presented by our superintendent, Dr. English.
Okay, thank you, Mr. President. We will be asking for your approval of the following personnel items for next week. First, our new hires of our assistant principal and a long-term substitute, which you will meet in our meet and greets next week. We have 2 teacher retirements for your consideration, as well as resignations for bocce coach and paraprofessional. We have our typical precision hire placeholder, as well as hires of our head football coach, track coach, and volunteer track coach. We will also be asking for your approval of one of our employees to complete their intern teacher field observation. And finally, an unpaid leave request for one of our paraprofessionals. Any questions? These are sort of typical types things, incoming, outgoing positions. Any questions there? Thank you.
There is nothing for student life at this time, so we'll move into education.
Thank you, Mr. President. Every 3 years, the district is responsible for updating our school counseling plan as per state mandate. In accordance with the Pennsylvania Chapter 339 requirements, the board is mandated to review the comprehensive school counseling plan as a part of our compliance. This month, the counseling department, under the leadership of Ms. DeRochers in her pupil services capacity, thank you, Ms. DeRochers, has provided the board with the updated plan after working intensively with our counselors. The plan has been provided for your review, and the board will be asked to provide documentation next week indicating that you have received the plan and have reviewed the document satisfying PDE's mandate. Are there any questions or discussion regarding our school counseling plan?
You said it's updated how often?
Every 3 years. Well, it's updated every year,
Yep.
but the board has to review it and provide documentation that they've reviewed it every 3 years. So that 3-year point has come up. We have to resubmit the document to PDE, and the board has to state that they've reviewed it.
Got it.
Okay?
How significant of the changes do you think there are here versus the last version?
Yeah. I mean, just updates towards, maybe student inventories, college and career resources that have been updated. Yeah. Some of the resources have been outdated. So it's just a matter of sort of updating.
A nice update.
Yeah.
Okay.
Are there any other major changes, Mr. Rochers, that? Yeah. Yeah. There's a scope and sequence document where, every grade there's multiple sort of experiences that we have to provide, and we provide over the experience we have to provide from the state in terms of career exploration, acquisition, retention, and entrepreneurship. And so each year, just like you're revising curriculum, those change. Like she said, you're moving things around.
Yep.
It worked here, or maybe you added a new speaker from the outside talking about their career that you didn't have the year before. So those are the kinds of edits and revisions we're looking at.
Great. Thank you.
Yep.
Okay.
Be more concise,
Challenge.
Mr. Rochers.
Yeah.
I don't know where this would go in this, but this is more of just like a personal experience thing of something I think that would be helpful from a high school guidance counselor perspective. Like ninth grade, parents usually are invited to come and meet with the counselors about like, this is how the kids progress through the different years in high school. This is when key things happen. This is when stuff has to happen in junior year, like for college or SAT, or, like their sort of explanation
Right.
of like what's the path, which I thought was super helpful in ninth grade. And then I guess I was hopeful that something else like that would occur like a beginning of junior year, maybe beginning of senior year, because those years are just jam packed with like lots of stuff you need to do and things you need to be aware of and such. So I don't know if that's something that could be added, or I don't know that it needs to be an in-person meeting. Maybe it's a Zoom meeting, or and more information. But I kind of felt like we kind of got a big dump of information in ninth grade, and then when things went on, it was just sort of random emails and updates here and there. There wasn't really a lot of guidance around, at least for parents, around like, hey, this is when you have to do the first PSAT, and this is when you'd have to start doing your applications, and like those sort of details, which I know when I've asked, it's like, oh, well, the kids know, but 16-year-olds don't communicate with their parents very well, if you have any of those at home. And so
I have 2 of those.
yeah, I'm sure you hear from them all the details, right? Maybe this stuff is being communicated, but I don't feel like it gets back to the parents in terms of like the logistics, because it's like, oh, I went out and found some SAT class and I didn't know we were going to have one that was going to be offered, like stuff like that, that like it would be helpful, especially starting junior year. And then again, like starting senior year, of like, here's the plan, here's what has to happen at certain points, here's what needs to get done. Because otherwise it's like, you're just digging around the website and trying to like make sense of when and how and all the things, and talking to the wall that is your 16 or 17-year-old sometimes.
I think that's a great suggestion. And that's actually something that I was like personally concerned about for my daughter, in terms of like what those steps are. So it'll be nice like if things were laid out, and you can probably quickly get more information with a virtual or in-person meeting versus with a larger group of parents, versus parents having to step up and individually one-on-one schedule meetings. So it might actually save like the counselor's time. If you have a
rather than
single
like
meeting.
fielding random emails or questions or things. If you just had something like that at the beginning of those key years to say, here's the plan, let us know what questions you have, at certain points, because otherwise I found that like I was constantly like reaching out or trying to find an answer, or just felt a little in the dark. Mr. Hewitt's
Look,
heard
they're
from me.
already.
Yeah.
So do you think
They're already
maybe
game
like
planning back there.
Like a yearly breakdown? So like junior year, this is what you should be preparing for. Senior
Yeah, I mean, there is some of that on the website, and I know I've
But,
been
like,
directed
maybe
to
like
the
a
website,
timeline.
but like
in a concrete place.
But like more of an actual like, hey, we're your counselors. This is junior year. This is when a lot of stuff has to get done.
Yeah,
Because,
like March, like August, you're talking with you're making like plans to talk with your guidance counselor.
Yeah.
And then September, you're meeting and going over potential colleges, blah, 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 what I mean? Like something like that.
So like if it's a Zoom meeting or something that parents can join at the beginning of the year, just to kind of have a lay of the land for each year of what we need to be aware of, that would be super helpful. Yeah. So
High school administration, any thoughts
they're
there?
already figuring it out.
Anything to add?
Is it something you'd be open to, like a focus group of parents to come in and talk about experiences? Some like just to say this is what I'm missing. This is because I come from a different perspective of working in higher ed. So my poor child I was like, well, now you have to do this, and now you have to do that, and did you do this, and did you do that? And Yeah.
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 For what it was worth, my daughter's freshman year, there were actually a lot of parents that came, and there were a lot of questions being asked that it was like, oh, I wouldn't have thought of that. Oh, I don't know. Like, so it was actually really useful. But then I feel like nothing ever happened outside of that. So.
And not to put it on, and not also to put it on your plates, but more, well, I don't want to volunteer them, but maybe our school counselors at the high school would be willing to take that on, because I have to imagine that Mr. Kinnick and Tara Jo have, like some sort of like timelines and breakdowns already
It's just,
of what they're looking for.
It's just this information isn't disseminated to parents very well.
Right.
And it's not that it doesn't exist out there somewhere.
No, yeah.
But it's just a matter of like needing it to have it in like a packaged form, each
Right.
beginning of each high school year to know what you have coming up and when. And now we have parent access to Naviance, which is new. We didn't have that 3-4 years ago, which would have been awesome. That's a new thing. So now parents need to know how to get in there and what they're looking at, because they would have no idea. I wouldn't.
Okay, noted. We'll
Sorry to
meet
drag on.
we'll meet with the team and have those discussions, and if edits need to be made, we'll highlight those edits for next week. Mr. Rochers, got some marching orders there. Okay.
I was also wondering, are there for like the PSAT or the SAT, are there like on-site like summer classes that kids can take at the school?
Not at our school. They're not hosted at our school. Yeah.
Okay.
People aren't allowed to have a life after.
Okay.
Yeah, we used to have it, and the teacher that taught it, we only have one teacher that was kind of used or trained to teach it.
Because I
They've
think
since retired.
that could bump up like the test scores if the students had that option, even if we just brought someone in temporarily,
Or
Maybe
even
we should reach out to our.
Saturday thing.
Yeah, it was like on a Saturday you came in
But
for a couple weekends.
Even
Maybe
if it's not something we offer, even giving parents, just because I've researched this, and you look up SAT prep, you could be researching for days and weeks. Like, there's so many options out there just to be like, hey, this one's worth your time. This one's expensive. Don't look at that one. Like, there's so many out there, even for guidance counselors, just to say, hey, these are good ones that you could sign up for,
Yeah. I will say, for
Yeah, or at least give you parents some guidance as to, like, these ones that are hosted by Kaplan are good.
I just know that
or whatever.
it's available at some other districts. And when I had that type of prep at my high school, it was very helpful. And I would hope that we could do something similar for our kids if it's not too much of a stretch to find the right person to provide that service. So I think it was only maybe 5 or 6 weeks, or maybe less than that, and you go twice a week. So it could be helpful to kids, I believe.
a suggestion that we used to do when I was in college is that it used to be a student job, and they would reach out to alumni at our college to come teach it, because a lot of us were certified through Kaplan and stuff for the SATs and the ACTs. So it may be worthwhile reaching out to our alumni network, specifically students that may be at local colleges, and or if we're going to do it over the summer, students that are returning home that have recently graduated but are still in that college age kind of range, because they're willing to do it usually for cheap. And then on top of it, they're usually certified by a program, because I'm pretty sure in college you can get certifications pretty cheap and or for free if you're a college student to teach those classes, depending on what you scored.
I didn't mean to go down the rabbit hole, but it's just been a pain point for me having a senior this year and have another one coming up. So I remember it started out strong, and then I feel like it was sort of you're on your own, figure it out.
Yep.
Yeah. Or even if it's not possible to have it here on site, if we could potentially partner with another district or a community college to provide that service too.
Okay. Anything else for education?
Thank you for the feedback.
Alrighty. board meeting minutes. Does anyone have any questions and or suggestions, revisions, corrections currently? If not, just take a look and then we can make them at our next meeting as well. Going once, going twice, sold. Alrighty, we are now at our second hearing of the citizens. This is for any prior official action by the board. It allows for an opportunity for public to make comments on any board procedures and policy and any school-related topics as a whole. So if you would like to speak, please come up to the microphone, state your name and your address, and please keep in mind that your comments are limited to 3 minutes or less, and that you are also recorded.
Okay, there we go. Sylvia Sullivan, 139 Oak Meadow. First of all, I wanted to thank you for Securely. Is that what it's called? I used it the other day, so not that my kids were, it wasn't a problem, but I wanted to see something that they were doing, and it worked. Like, I could see everything. So if you are a parent who hasn't checked it out yet, it actually works really good, and I can actually see everything they're searching and whatever. So thank you for that. I appreciate it. I didn't even realize my kid was using his computer when he was, like that kind of thing. So like it was helpful. So thank you. I mean, he's not in trouble, but I just was like, oh. So open my eyes. So other parents might open your eyes to something that you didn't realize. Yeah, that wasn't it. So yeah, but thank you for that. It works. And then I just wanted to say, like, I appreciate that you all are moving forward with like communicating with each other, even after that hard discussion. I felt like I saw everybody continuing to communicate, and I think communication in any relationship is really important, and especially when there's 9 of you and you're all going to have different opinions. I appreciate that. Seems like you all have a way forward and are going to communicate, and including the administration being open and communicating. So I appreciate you guys doing that and having that tough conversation. So thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, great. My name's Les Leisure. I live at 307 Canterbury Court. I wasn't going to speak, but I just want to mention to you, I know you talked a lot about the school delays and cancellations. And I can tell you, I'm sure you realize that I've been in the station when he's called 5 o'clock in the morning to get information about road conditions. And I want to mention something else that you may not have considered or realized was this last storm, the other hazard was falling tree branches from high wind, which he had to contend with, and power lines down as well as cable lines down, okay? He has called back and said anything changes. So I think that, I think he takes a lot of information and then bases his decision. And the other thing is, my granddaughter doesn't ride the school bus, but you have a bus stop at 2nd Street and 1st Street. How are you going to get off that hill? It's steep. Center Avenue, North Avenue is cobblestone and narrow, and 2nd Street goes down to Wildwood, and that's steep. So there's a lot of things that he has to consider. I'm not sticking up for him, just saying, I know I'm present when he calls 5 o'clock in the morning, calls back again, everybody goes, that's Dr. English again. So I just want to say I know a lot of thought goes into it, so thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, Paula Tomlinson, 234 3rd Street, Oakmont. Batting cages installation. The Creekside Park, which is property owned by the borough, used by REA and the district, when batting cages were installed there, it was on a volunteer basis. All the members of REA got together, like on a Saturday or whatever, and did it. So I'm going to reach out to my husband who's on the rec board so he can make nice with Fody to say, what if Fody would approve that, or if John Gentile would approve that? Okay. Because these guys did it like on a Saturday morning. They did the Creekside one. It was like up in a minute. Okay. Number 2, a few years back, I reached out to Jen, and she was a rookie in her marketing position, because as I would see real estate advertisements, we were ranked 5 out of 10 and 6 out of 10. And I was very upset with our local realtors who lived in this town and represented our school district. And on one of the websites that we all know, and a realtor we all know, she had the primary school as Fox Chapel and Shadyside. And I lost my mind. And I was like, we got to get this fixed. And they claimed it was, a corporate thing, but that's something I always look at and give feedback. And it looks better now, but that's a huge part of marketing communications we're not having problems selling homes in Oakmont and Verona because people love this school district. They want to come to this school district for many reasons, but to stay on top of that, to keep positive light shown on all the things we do, from academics to extracurriculars to our special ed team, so much. And the upgrades on our buildings and, all of it is a great selling point to live in our little Mayberry. So my other thing was the counselor meetings. Yeah, you immediately got on that and had something. Well, I think you did, because you're at an open house and you're reading this. I'm like, that's negligent. You know what I mean? Yeah.
Saying this is the Riverview School District.
Yeah. Here's our graduation rates. Here's our. Well, yeah, but I know. Well, the counselor meetings, I'm going to have to look back, and for some reason I missed the 9th grade meeting with counselors talking about, Naviance was just introduced to, and I have boys, and that's part of the problem, my boy who's in college, I never even knew what we were doing, so I'm trying to get a jump on the mistakes I made with the old one. I won't make with the young one, but Dr. Turk gave me directions, but I like that idea of the counselors doing a Zoom or a Teams, and people should realize in senior year they shouldn't be scrambling to get their service hours and to take a quick test. Where they're driving to Erie to take a test because they don't have SATs. But that's all. Thank you.
Thank you.
So you're saying get ready because I have a boy next. So it'll be worse. Yeah, it is.
Anyone else? Oh.
Emily Ertlejack, FTNS 143 Oak Meadow Drive. I just wanted to give a shout out to Dr. Turk, Ryan O'Malley, and Marley DeLuca. We had a junior high dance. Was that last weekend, Sylvia? Okay. Yeah, 2 Fridays ago. Yeah. There were over 100 kids there, though. Mr. O'Malley, that guy can dance, and Mrs. DeLuca deserves an award for those heels. But they were amazing. It was a Friday. They didn't have to do that. Dr. Turk, too. So just, I was very appreciative as a junior high mom to say this is great that people are going above and beyond. So thank you. They should be recognized for that.
Thank you. And thank you to those 3 for also doing it. Those 3 definitely dedicate a lot of time and energy into our junior high, so it's much appreciated, more than they know. Anyone else? Okay. Are there any final board comments for this evening? Okay. Any motions to adjourn?
Siri, I'll make that motion.
Metzger, second.